everyone. Welcome to DiFebo's Market. My name's Brittany. I'm the pastry chef here. Today we're going to be doing a little demo. It's the first one of many to come. We're going to try and do one about every week, about every Wednesday, changing it up, really making them easy for you at home, something that, again, everyone can do. Today we're going to be making cake truffles. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to make the cake today. At home, you don't have to make the cake from scratch, but of course here at the market we do. So you can always get a box mix, any flavor you like. First off, I've already got my butter in my mixing bowl here. It's about 1.5 sticks at room temperature. You're going to want to have that kind of whipped up a little bit, just so it's light and fluffy. Just want to have that continue there. I'm going to add my sugar. We got 1 2/3 cups of sugar, so I'm going to add that nice and slow. And again, this is going to be our vanilla cake base. So this is what's going to make your base for your truffle. And you're just going to whip that till that's just combined. And again, this is something that you can do if you have cake already left over from an event. You can make these, again, you can make them any flavor you'd like. We're going to be making some vanilla today. We're going to dip it in a dark chocolate. But again, you can mix it up however you like. Alright, so we've got our butter and our sugar nice and fluffy, kind of combined. And now I'm going to put our dry ingredients into a separate bowl. So I've got 2.5 cups of flour. I'm just going to add that in. And I've already sifted the flour. I also have 3/4 teaspoon of salt. It's going to go right in. And then I also have 2 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder. Right in as well. And again, I already sifted my flour. You can sift it all together at this point. Not really necessary if you don't want to. Again, total personal preference. We're going to set this guy aside. Now I've got my 3 eggs. I like to use eggs at room temperature. If you don't have eggs right at room temperature, you can always put them in some nice warm water, still in the shell of course, and then that'll get them to room temp for you. Warm room temp eggs are always best to bake with. So we're going to add these in slowly, one at a time. And again, that's going into your sugar and your butter mixture. And again, just mixing that till it's just about combined. Should be a nice light yellow color for you once it's all combined. And at this point, I'm going to scrape the bowl. It's always important to scrape your bowl. That way, if you have anything that's not incorporated on the bottom, that's going to bring all that up for you, just to make sure everything's nice and combined and you don't have any lumps afterwards. Give that another stir. Alright, and I've got 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and I also have 1 cup of milk as well. You can use regular milk or buttermilk, whichever you prefer, whichever one you have in the house. And we're actually going to alternate the wet and the dry ingredients. So I'm going to incorporate the vanilla into our milk. And you want to start and end with your dry ingredients. So I'm going to just turn this on low. And again, you'll see me alternate between the dry and the wet. And at this stage, it's really important that you don't overmix your batter. With the eggs and the butter and the sugar, you can't overmix because there's no gluten incorporated yet. Once we start adding the flour, that's when you can really overmix, and that would makes your cake tough and not so light and fluffy that we're going for. I'm going to add in our milk mixture. Again, that's that 1 cup of milk and the tablespoon of vanilla extract. Again, nice and slow. And before I add my last portion of my dry, I am gonna scrape the bowl again. Like I said before, just to get any ingredients that have kind of traveled to the bottom. Alright, and then that last dry, again, starting and stopping with your dry ingredients. And at this point, we're just gonna mix it till it's just combined, and then I'm gonna actually hand mix it just a tad, again, just so we don't overmix. So that looks perfect here. And again, we're making our cake batter from scratch, but like I said, you're more than welcome to pick up your favorite cake box mix. That's what's so great about these. It's nothing too fancy, but they're super yummy, and you can kind of change them up however you'd like. And like I said, I'm just gonna finish incorporating the last bit here, just by hand. And you should have a really smooth cake batter. This is gonna be our base for those cake truffles. Now I've got my greased and lined cake pan. And we are going to fill our pan. And if you don't have a cake pan like this, if you have an 8-inch round, you know, anything that you can bake a cake in, you can use that. So don't feel the need to go out and buy a half sheet pan if you don't have it. All you're trying to do is just to bake that cake off. Just gonna spread that out nice and thin. And this is going to go into a 350-degree oven. Depending on your oven, I would say about 10 to 15 minutes. But again, each oven's a little bit different. I would really check as your cake goes, especially if it's a little bit thinner like mine. It's not going to take as long as it would in like an 8-inch cake pan where the cake layer is going to be a little bit thicker. So this is going to go into that oven. I've got one prepared already. So this is what you should have once it comes out. And this, like I said, this is going to be our base for the cake truffle. You're going to take a nice sized bowl, and this is when we're going to make the actual truffles themselves. So, I'm going to grab some gloves here, and what you'd like to do at this point is we're going to combine that cake that we made, let it cool, make sure it's nice and cold. We're going to combine it with your favorite icing. Again, I made my own buttercream, but you can definitely go to the supermarket, get your favorite jarred icing, totally the same concept. What we're doing today is really showing you how to do this technique and make these cake truffles, and then you can kind of go on your own and learn what works for you, what combinations you like. So we're going to take this cake and we're going to crumble it up into this bowl here. And it doesn't have to be perfect, again, because we're going to make the cake truffles out of them.
Do you recommend almost under baking them?
You can, depending on how you like your cake. I like to fully cook these because once you add the buttercream to it, it's already going to kind of be nice and moist to begin with. So that buttercream is really going to help with that. I'm kind of a texture eater, so if it's too underdone, it might taste a little too moist, if that makes sense. So you're just going to get all your cake into the bowl. And I've got some already homemade buttercream here. Just going to crumble this up, and you want these crumbles to be pretty small. You don't want to have too big of lumps when you're making your cake truffles. And cake truffles are essentially a cake pop. You're just not having to do all the work with the stick. So again, it's a little bit easier of a process for you. So once we get everything combined here, we're gonna add in this buttercream. And I've got about 2 cups of the buttercream. I may not use it all. Again, depending on how moist your cake is, you may find that you need a little bit less icing, a little bit more. Again, it's all kind of dependent on getting that cake to kind of combine with the buttercream to form that ball and to keep that ball. Alright. And I like to use my hands. I think they're the best tool you have, so that's why I'm kind of just doing everything with my hands here. I'm gonna grab this buttercream, and again, here's where you're gonna have to just have an eye for how much. Always start out with fewer than what you think you need, because you can always add, but you can't take away. So we're just gonna add almost all of it there.
So what are some other cakes and icings that you could use for this?
Yeah, so we've done chocolate cakes already with chocolate icing. You can do chocolate with vanilla. You can do red velvet. Really any store-bought cake mix you could pick up, or any homemade recipes that you have. I've even done it with old birthday cake that we had from a party that already has all the icing and that sort of thing. So you can really mix it up. Whatever flavors you like. Chocolate peanut butter is always good. So yeah, really to whatever your taste is. So I'm just gonna add the rest of this buttercream. It's just a little bit on the dry side. It's not sticking together quite yet. And then this should be enough here to put these together. And it should make a nice paste. That's kind of the consistency you're looking for. As you can kind of see, it's really starting to form a nice ball. Because you want those cake truffles to really stick together and not fall apart. If you don't have enough buttercream, it's gonna fall apart on you. All right. So now that we've got our cake and buttercream mixture, we are going to scoop our cake truffles. So I've got a lined sheet pan, and I'm going to use about an ounce scoop. So on the smaller side, but you can make them as large or as small as you like. I find it easiest to scoop the cake truffles with an ice cream scoop. That way everything's the same size.
And if you don't have one, could you use just a spoon or?
Spoons together, or you can always eyeball it too. They don't have to be perfect. Again, that's kind of what truffles are. So I just like to keep them a little uniform. But yeah, if you don't have, use your hands. So I pack it nice and tight to give me one of these guys, and I'm just gonna put them right on to the sheet pan. And once you get your whole batter scooped, you're gonna wanna put these into the fridge for at least an hour. Overnight's great, but at least an hour is gonna do the trick for you. And again, you're just gonna scoop all these till you have them on your tray. And then I actually like to give these a little roll between my hands, just so it's a little more smoother. I've actually got some already set here for you. So once you've scooped and rolled all your cake truffles, this is what you've got left. You got some nice shape to these guys. Again, these have been in the fridge for about 2 hours or so. You want them nice and chilled again so they hold their shape. And now we are going to dip our cake truffles. I've got some chocolate here that I've already melted down. What I like to use is a 64% chocolate. You can use whatever you'd like. These are actually melting coins, so they've already been tempered. So I'm not having to temper and do all that fancy schmancy stuff with the chocolate. So again, super simple at home for you. I'm gonna grab some gloves, and we are going to dip these. And again, you can dip them however you'd like, or if you want to keep them like this and just drizzle the chocolate, you can definitely do that as well. A lot of creativity at this point for you. And I've got a rack here with a glazing rack on top, just so any excess chocolate's going to drip down and not stick to that. So we're just going to toss our cake truffle right in that chocolate. Again, I've already melted this down. And just with a simple fork, I'm just going to make sure that's all coated. Give that a nice little tap just to get any excess off of there. And then sit that right on your little glazing rack. And this, if you don't have a glazing rack, you can always use a nice cooling rack that you would use for cookies. Just something so that excess chocolate can drip off for you. And we're just going to continue to do that until you've got them all coated. And at this point, what you could always do is if you want to add any sort of sprinkle on top, if you were doing like a salted caramel, you can add some sea salt on top. Any decoration you want to put on before the chocolate sets. What I did was I actually did a nice little white chocolate drizzle. So this was my finished product. So I waited until the chocolate completely set, and then I went back with a nice white chocolate drizzle. Same concept, just melting that chocolate down, just drizzling that over with a nice spoon. And then this is what you got once you're done. And again, whatever flavor you'd like, perfect for little parties, perfect little grab and go.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, yep, Mother's Day. Easter, coconut would be great with these. But yeah, they're really pretty. Again, be creative with it. But that's our cake truffles here at the market. Hope you guys tune in for next week. Keep your eyes open for what we'll be doing. Like I said, we'll try and do these every week in the upcoming months. Thank you so much. Bye guys.